this is what I wrote. So I said, currently we're in the good times. We live in a world where damn near everything you could ever have dreamt of consuming is at your beck and call. The times that create weak men. So when I see someone like yourself, I can't tell you how much gratitude I have for someone not only willing to speak out about unpopular truths, but incredibly well-spoken regarding them. So before we get into any of that, you can kind of like identify yourself. You can introduce
myself. Sure. Yeah. So my channel is called Restituteur Gallier. I'm a French Catholic, so I'm French. And my name is actually Latin for Savior of France, which is very ambitious. It's a very, very bold name to call my channel. But I like the aesthetic, so I went for that. I've got a clear Gallic theme around it. The statue that I use is a statue of a French hero, Gallic hero. And the things I like to talk about is very, very wide range of topics, from psychology to politics, religion, history, sociology, philosophy. And I like covering those topics because I think that there's a very deep problem with the world right now, something very troubling revelations, and I think more people need to know the truth, because I think the truth is the best weapon in life. It's the thing that if you arm yourself with it, you'll never go astray, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm not even saying that like the stuff you're saying is true, which I personally agree with a lot of the stuff you say. But the thing is that you're not actually scared to explore the realm of truth versus, like, you're on the edge, you're on the cusp of the little chaos, like.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this. You have an Overton window, right? So the Overton window, it just is a political term, which means what is actually acceptable to say. So let's say you have a broad range of opinions, a very broad spectrum of opinions. And for the sake of this allegory, we can say right and left, even though I don't like that terminology. But the Overton window is basically what window of that spectrum is acceptable to say in public, right? So obviously my opinions are not within this window, but to express yourself and not, in some cases, get in legal trouble, because we don't have free speech in Australia, or financial trouble, you have to be in the absolute extreme bleeding edge of that Overton window and try slowly dig away at it, push it, extend it more and more and more and more, so that ideas and opinions which are considered forbidden or totally verboten, you can actually express them in public once again. That's basically the goal of what I'm doing. You push ideas which are, I don't want to say extreme or extremist, because that's scary.
Yeah. They are extreme. But extreme, like, anyone who's ever gotten anything achieved in this world is an extreme.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, I'm exactly that opinion as well. If you always shill for the status quo and you're always saying, well, the things right now are perfect, well, nothing's going to change, obviously, because you think things right now are perfect. So if you're an extremist, I mean, you look at, like, the opposing political factors. We're already straying off because, whatever, I can't stay focused on one topic, but you look at the opposing political force, that's what they do. They're all extremists, right? But their speech is being normalized. Like, for example, I'll just mention this very briefly for the sake of example. We don't have to get into this because I could talk about this for a while, but the trans movement, like, even 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that's like so extremely far out there. It's such a small part of the population. It's not in the public consciousness at all. And now it's like everybody accepts it. How do they do that? They just shove extreme examples in your face all the time. That's how they extend the Overton window all the way to the left, in this case. So if we're on this side, we have to do the same thing, right? We can't stick to our principles and say, well, we have to stick by the legality and we have to say things that are legal only. Well, it's like, yes, I don't want to go to jail, obviously. And I want to stay YouTube friendly, obviously. And I want to take your channel down, all mine, obviously. But
if it gets taken down, like,
and you can get a bad advantage for that, honestly.
Not even that. It's just like, I'll just go somewhere else,
But it's like, dude, we have to do the same thing. If we want to get our ideas out there, we have to be honest. We have to stop hiding our ideas, playing this cloak and dagger. It's like, oh, well, it doesn't work that way. We just have to push and push and push. And if we have to be on the edge constantly, that's just what we've got to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about your channel is, like, I have similar viewpoints to you, or I see things the same, but I can't necessarily articulate them as well as you. Because that's why I think the thing that you do is very valuable, because you, like, get straight in there. There's no script, right? You don't script it. Like, it's
few bullet points, and then I just fucking go.
Bro, yeah, beautiful. It's like seldom that you come across, or I come across a content, like, creator or whatever, someone that is able to do that and actually made me like, true, this is correct, like, and have a stable train of thought, you know what I mean? And actually back up, because I'm neither here nor there on the trans argument or whatever. But Yeah, of course. But it's a lot of things. Like, I'm neither here nor there, but I know that there's definitely some things that are negative for the world, for humanity, for humans. Yeah. But I can't necessarily be like, to someone who is on the opposite side of that, I can't necessarily put that point across in a polite yet, impactful way. Yeah, that's why I'm like, when I watch your videos, I'm like, let's go.
Let's go, dude. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Because that's something that, I mean, when I was a kid, like growing up, I always had the sentiment that I couldn't, if you can't articulate yourself, that is the greatest frustration of all time, man. Because you can be convinced that you're right. And then if only someone could see things the way you see them, they would get it. It would snap, it would click.
Yeah.
But you can't bring that idea forward because you don't know the words. You can't articulate that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can, but it'd take me, I'd have to write it.
Yeah.
I'd have to like flesh it out. Whereas you can just like bang, bang, bang. And it's like,
I've always been like a literary person. I used to love reading books. Like English is actually my second language. I'm French first. My maternal tongue is French, but I've lived here for like 15 years or whatever. So totally grew up here, everything. So I speak English like pretty proficiently. So for me, it's like, I've always been literary. I like learning new words, stuff like that. And then this is also another part of this. When I was watching Jordan Peterson a lot back in like 2017, 2018. I don't know if you've watched him at all.
Yeah, I met him, bro. I met him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's like, you see him and he goes, if you want to become dangerous as a young man, which he recommends, he's like, don't be harmless, be dangerous. And what's the best way to become dangerous in a neutered society where there's no violence? Become articulate. And I watched that and I was like, oh shit, he's bright. It's like, if you can express yourself so incisively, so concise, like your words are like a surgical scalpel.
Yeah.
So who's going to do anything, bro? You say your ideas, you're extremely concise, you pack a shitload of meaning into like a few sentences, and then people are like, whoa, like that makes sense. That's it. This is fucking it. Like, and I'm like, dude, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. So I started like reading a lot more. Like right now I'm reading a shit ton as well. Reading a lot of history, reading a lot about religion, philosophy. And it's like, you apply that knowledge to the world around you. It actually helps heighten your awareness and your perception because you learn new ideas. It's like you put a new filter over your eyes. You can see things in a different way. And then you can explain that in like a very concise way. So I love doing that, especially for these ideas, which I'm promoting because I'm young. I just say like, I am pretty much a political extremist.
It's weird to say.
I know it's weird. It's just the truth. Like compared to the status quo, like I'm so far out there, dude. So it's like,
but like maybe you're not though. I think the media systems make you think that you are.
Yeah.
So you might not even be that, like, you know what I mean?
You're right. Well, when I talk, so I'm like a bouncer, right? That's my job.
Oh no shit, bro. You should come tutor if you're like really good at English.
Yeah. I should also like tutor French. My mom's like,
yes, bro. It's so much better than bouncing.
But because I've been doing bouncing for like 2 years now, I talk to a like incredible amount of people, like, because all you do all night is just sit there and talk to people. And it's true that like I do talk about this stuff at work, and the people who are always the most receptive to it are always young men. You talk to young men and you say something which might seem like super out there, and they're like, oh yeah, facts. And it's like, oh shit, you're right. Maybe it's not that extreme. Maybe it's extreme compared to the message that we get fed every day on TV, radio, newspapers. No one watches that, but yeah. This mass, like, I don't want to say brainwashing, but that's kind of what it is. You're pushing these ideas over and over again. It's like, well, if you think the opposite of that, you're going to be considered a political extremist, even though a lot of people might actually agree with you. Yeah. But that's always the case, that if no one stands up, no one speaks out, then everybody thinks they're alone. Everybody thinks they're totally isolated in that sentiment. Everybody thinks, well, I don't think that's the case, but they all do because no one's speaking up. But then when there's one person who stands up, then everybody can rally behind him and say, well, we actually agree with this person. We can need to do this shit.
Yeah, and that's why you need to be very articulate with it, which is great.
Yeah, well, I think that helps, yeah.
The underpinning thing for me is like that the truth doesn't need defense, which is like, if there's all these ideas that are true in the mainstream, whatever, then why do they need to be promoted so much?
Why do they constantly need to justify them? Why do they constantly need to tell you to stop asking questions? Why do they constantly need to make up a new story and come up with a new argument every single time you ask? It's exactly it. The truth doesn't need to be explained, or it doesn't need questioning. You can question the truth endlessly because you always get the same result. It's like, the sky is blue. I can look at the sky any time of the day, except from nighttime. But it's like, yeah, it's blue. I can look at it. It's blue. I don't need someone to come up here and like tell me a cope. It's like, well, it's actually green because you have a filter over your eyes because of the. Yeah, it's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, the truth does not mind questioning. Lies do, because lies need to come up with a new lie every single time you question them. So it becomes like this intricate web that's spun out. And then it's like, once the web is so big, it's like, well, you can't keep track of it anymore. And it becomes so obvious that it's there. So, you know, there's a lot of topics that we can talk about, but like 90% of them are YouTube bans. So I just...
No, it's go crazy. It's going to be, I don't care about like the channel I'm putting it on isn't the one I post like the main videos. It's like a bigger one with 3K. So it just has my interviews on. So like, if that gets taken down, I don't give a fuck. I literally don't care.
I want people to see it though, so.
Okay, fair. All right, so some of the questions I had. Also, am I in the frame? Yeah, cool.
That was, I could preach it.
Yeah, literally.
Right now, it's like, right.
Anyway, so, all right, I want some people, or the people that are watching this, to take some value out of this. So let's address some of those topics first. The first one would be, how did you become so articulate? Second one would be, what kind of books did you recommend? You say you like books, so if anyone's watching, they also like books. I get people telling me, read books. Like, I don't like reading books. Maybe it's probably not that. Like, I'm articulate. I feel like the videos have superseded books in that way, and that if you read like a 40-minute summary of like 48 Laws of Power, you get the gist.
Yeah.
So that first question is, how did you become so articulate with?
Well, I guess I've always been like more into literary stuff. So that is part of my nature. I know that it's not a very helpful answer, but one thing that I would say to that effect is you got to want it. You got to actually make a conscious effort to change the way you speak. Because it's like, I could speak in a way that's a lot more vulgar or use a vernacular that's a lot more, I'd say, common with people our age. But yeah, exactly. And I actually used to speak that way a lot. But you got to want to become more sophisticated and eloquent the way you speak. And you got to realize that also longer words don't just exist to be long. They actually do like pack more meaning into them. Like words that are like more letters, it's because they have more meaning in them. Like when you look at a word like microcosm, that's a word I love. It means like a tiny representation of a complex system that's contained within a small and simplistic example, right? But that's like a word that most people don't know what it means, but it's like, this word is really useful, man, especially when you start talking about more complicated ideas. And to that effect, I would also say, you got to start changing the way you think. If you only think in simplistic terms, this is something that I often say, if you only look at things like from a face value, like level 1, the first layer, you're going to think in simplistic terms. It's like, oh, well, that's green, that's blue, that's brown. And then it's like, you got to add more and more layers to your thinking, right? You got to like synthesize those layers.
Yeah, so why, how?
Exactly. And then when you come to the why, and then to the how, and then to all these other elements, you actually start needing to use more and more complex words, because that's how language evolves. It evolves to describe things that are more complex, have more moving parts, have more interaction. So you got to want to take that plunge.
But like, just to interrupt you, I'm not even like talking about complex words per se. I'm just like concision and like impact. So like, if someone's watching this, and this is what I told my students, it's like, I don't care if you have the most well-worded piece of writing, that the ideas are fucked. Like, I can't tell what you're trying to talk about, you know? I prefer you use the simplest language possible and have a thorough idea and actually explore something. But yeah, sorry, continue. That's just my point.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree with that 100%. Well, that's just a matter of comprehension, I would say.
Yeah. Because like at the end of the day, and sorry to interrupt you, like I make these videos, I write my little big words and shit, and then no one really understands them, which is also a problem that I'm coming across. Because like I only have the capacity to understand the things that you are talking about because I have that level of education that is like we take for granted sometimes.
100%. That's just a matter of comprehension. Like, you got to be able to, if you can run laps around an idea, then you can explain it. And also, explaining an idea to someone helps you understand it further. Yeah. So if you think you understand something, but you're incapable of actually explaining it in simple terms, then you don't understand. Exactly, yeah. Yeah. So I would say it's just a matter of like deepening your level of comprehension. It's like, you got to be able to run laps around that idea. And if you can explain it in simple terms, then you can build up that ability to be really concise, to really pack a lot of meaning into very few words, which is a very, very powerful ability. Because like I'm reading Nietzsche right now. It's so dense, dude. It's incredibly dense. Like you will read a paragraph and there's like 700 ideas expressed at once, and he connects all of them, and it's like, bro. And then you'll go to sleep, and then the next day it'll click. It's like, oh, that's what he meant. It's like, dude, I would not recommend Nietzsche if you're trying to get into books. Like that's like the final boss of reading, like straight up. It's so complex. It's just really complex. But any book recs, I would say probably like history books, a study of history, a full complex study of European history. I mean, I'm more interested in European history. Obviously, I'm European. But just world history, European history, history of economics, things like that. Super interesting. Very, very interesting. That'll help you get a sort of a good grip about what's going on now. If you understand how we got here, you'll understand what's happening now and what the future is going to look like as well. So I would say probably a pretty decently in-depth reading of history. I do have specific book recommendations if you want, like, But yeah, some like history books. I would say like, probably the classics, great works of literature, classic English authors. Yeah, so just stuff like that, I would say. Yeah, philosophy as well.
In terms of like the questions I've written down, I think I have two. So it says here, what are your aims in life currently? And we can kind of extrapolate that out to as a YouTube, like on the internet in general. But yeah, what are your ambitions?
Well,
and make them scary and big, because I want to hear it, bro. Because nobody, like, when you ask the question, everyone's like, oh, I want to have kids. Like,
yeah, some lame shit like that. Nah, my final goal, my true ambition is to save my country. It's to pull my country out of this rut, by any means necessary. So that means, and by extension, do that with the rest of the Western world. Like that's the full extent of my ambition, is to actually, if I had to word it in a tangible manner, I would say that my full ambition is the total destruction of the democratic liberal system, the annihilation of central banking and usury, and fractional reserve banking. I would say the total restoration of a Catholic monarchy in France and probably in all of the Western world. And I would say a return to total traditional Catholic social norms and social conservatism. Those would be like the four main points of my overall ambition, right? Which is, that's very, very, very ambitious.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but that's, I mean, you shoot for the stars, whatever it is, aim for them in, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of them. The one I do want to challenge you with, or push back on, is Christian monarchy.
Yeah.
Okay? And I do understand the reasons why you want it, which I mostly agree with. Sure. The thing that I would probably say to push back is that when we look at Christianity as a whole, let's put it like this. Spirituality is the product that this corporation of Christianity, which now it has become, is selling you. And it takes a certain level of IQ to actually realize that, and to actually transcend the need, in my opinion, for organized systems of religion and spirituality, morality, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, that's still the truth to me. So what would you say in response to that?
Well, that's actually a very good argument, and that's part of what Nietzsche actually said in his books. I don't know if you know that, but that was part of his critique of organized religion. I agree with that, but what you got to realize is that point of view, and as you just mentioned, that point of view is only accessible to people with a high enough intelligence or high enough perception. The matter of fact is that you cannot apply a doctrine to the vast majority of people if it's only accessible to a minority of them. Because we agree that high IQ individuals are a very small percentage of the population, right? If you look at the bell curve, it's like only 20% of the population has an IQ over like 105. Yeah. It's like someone with IQ 105 is like, they can't make meaningful inferences about the world. Like they can't even extrapolate information out of a given set of data. Yeah. So it's like the vast majority of people sit below that threshold. And so I'm not saying that this is some kind of like doctrine for the cattle or whatever. What I'm saying is that if you had to explain the reasons why a Christian morality is good, you would only be able to understand that if you were high IQ. If you had the actual physical hardware to understand why it's good. And so making a metaphor for it and wrapping it up in like a community-based organization is actually the most efficient way of spreading that around. So it's the best way of making sure that people stick to the morality which we consider beneficial and which has proven itself to create, the biggest, best, long-lasting empires the world's ever seen. Saying the Christians, the European Christians built, Christian monarchies which lasted well over a millennia, which created, works of art. It's the basis of the modern world. So it's like you wrap that up in like, as I said, a community-based organization. It ties people together. It tells them how to live their life to maximize their well-being, their own well-being. Because this is the thing as well, is people will say, well, that's dogmatic. It's not giving me freedom. But the thing you have to realize is there's no freedom without restriction. If you have freedom with no restriction, you're free to do nothing but obey your base instincts, right? Because here's the way I think about it. To be free to do anything, you need to have a skill to achieve something, right? If you're free on level 1 and you have absolutely no skills, you have no faculties, you have no abilities, you have no education, you have nothing, what are you really free to do? Because you can't do anything. You can't build anything, you can't write anything, you can't create anything, you can't even understand anything. So the only thing you're free to do at that base level of cognition is to obey your carnal instincts, right? It's to give in to the pleasures of the senses. That's the only thing you're free to do, is to obey your animal nature. And the only way to obtain true freedom is actually separation from the shackles of your animal nature. So once you ascend and you have practiced asceticism, you've practiced, I don't want to say self-mortification because that's a bit extreme, but you've practiced asceticism, you've practiced stoicism, you are truly free once your mind is freed from the shackles of your animal nature, right? And so to do that, you have to impose restrictions on yourself. You have to say, no, I'm not obeying that urge. I'm not obeying that craving. I'm not obeying that instinct, that animalistic instinct. That lowers my spirit. It lowers my ability. It lowers the quality of the person that I am. So the only way to get true freedom is through self-imposed restrictions. So man can only be truly free after he shackles himself in the bonds of his own choosing. And only then is he truly free. Nietzsche would disagree with me and he would say that that's a slave morality, but I mean, that speaks for itself. Like the entire...
we've lived in, quote unquote, that freedom that you're talking about, and that's what...
And look at the people around us, right? So what is it? 2/3 of the people in Australia are obese or overweight.
We have the highest,
per capita, what is it?
Like, that's crazy, but people are so free. So why don't they choose to do things that are good for them? Because they don't have that self-restriction. They don't have that temperance. They don't have that ability to restrict themselves to free their spirit from their animal-based instinct. Look around. People are overweight and obese. People are having casual sex. It's like, I have a problem with all that. I don't think that's good. I think that is destroying people and it's not making them the best they could be. And if that doesn't happen, well, then society degrades, society degenerates, society starts rotting from the inside out. And I mean, look what's happening. I mean, the West is dying. We're not having children anymore. Who's going to have children? These gay people, these people who are transsexual? I mean, I don't think so. They're sterilizing themselves. You know what I mean? So it's like, we're not having kids, we're not reproducing. So the whole system is totally rotten from the inside out. And that's why. Part of the reason, there's so much more to this, bro. Like, there is so much more, but part of the reason is because, people just obey because they're free, because we're in a liberal society, bro. So just obey your animal instincts, bro, no problem. And we totally leave that self-restriction and that temperance to the side. And because we do that, people have no faculty to resist their animal nature anymore, just none whatsoever. So I think that's a big part of it. I mean, again, like, Nietzsche would say, well, you're wrong, that's a slave morality, and you invent the morality of those actions, whatever. I mean, he's not wrong, like, on a technical basis, but it's like, yeah, exactly. But it's like, well, if you look at the societal effects of that, it's proven itself time and time and time again. If you apply this kind of thing, it just works. This kind of principle just works. Even without Christianity, look at the Muslim world. Look at China. China's doing so well. Why? Because they practice temperance.
But would you want to live in China?
I don't honestly would, yeah. I don't honestly would rather live in China than the West, bro. I'm not even fucking with you.
They would definitely like post this shit in China. You know what I'm saying?
That's okay though, bro. Because then I'd go outside and there'd be like no gay people. So that'd be like, that'd be so epic, dude. It's like I would go outside and there'd be like, be 100% Chinese people, and I'd be like a Chinese man, and I'd like go to my engineering job, and then I would go home and I'd see my Chinese wife, my Chinese kids. I'm like, dude, life is great. It's like, this is epic, dude. Like, my country's like the richest in the world. We're graduating the most engineers every single year. It's like, dude, we're balling, bro. We're taking over Asia. Like, yeah.
I can't necessarily agree with that. As in, I wouldn't really want to live with China. And, but yeah, there's a value in it on a. I feel like you're looking at things more on a national scale, as in on the whole.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas I will more look at things in my little perspective as an individual. It's like, I want to do this with my life.
Yeah.
I have these ambitions, like big ambitions, and I wouldn't be able to fulfill them in a place that I think they're too tyrannical, a little bit too tyrannical, because the state is just like crazy.
Look at some of the lockdowns that they're like still doing in parts of China. It's like, dude,
It's crazy.
the meme is over, mate. Like, oh, I can't say. You're gonna have to blur that out because you can't say it on YouTube. Just blur it out.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, like that meme is over. It's done. WHO said it's over like what, 6 months ago or whatever. So it's like, yeah, obviously they're very authoritarian. They're very tyrannical.
Yeah.
But it's like, what would you rather? Like a disinterested democracy or a benevolent dictator? Democratic people who you vote for, who don't care about you at all, and they're just in it for the money, or a dictator who's got a say in every part of your life, but he's benevolent.
Yeah.
But you can never is ascertain the right word? Benevolence? You can never everything's corrupt to the nth degree in these like systems. So like, that's the thing that's good about God, and that's what I really fuck with, is that God is incorruptible. It's a symbol, not a human being. So it's a striving towards the greater good, right? Which is exactly why I think that not necessarily forcing people into certain religious like beliefs, but finding a way to, the same way Christianity found a way to pack them in a nice little box, and then but yeah, that's wild. You live in China, bro? That's fucking crazy.
I think so, man. Like if I was, I mean, obviously I'm not Chinese, so I wouldn't, I mean, the only country I'd want to live in is my country, France. But if I was Chinese, why the fuck would I come here? Like you go to Box Hill, right? And you see all these young Chinese people, and they're all like, they've all got iPhones, they're on TikTok, they're wearing like swagged out drip or whatever.
Yeah, but these are like a subset of the Chinese.
Yeah, but it's like, that made me think, it's like, this country is such a cultural black hole. Like this country is so devoid of a national identity, and it's such like a cultural, sandpit, black hole, that even a culture that is as tightly knit as the Chinese, they still lose when they come here. They still come here and they get shredded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
To a degree, but the people that are able to actually immigrate from China, they're like pretty high up on the pecking financially. Because like I've been to China and it is fucked, bro.
Yeah, it's very,
it is fucking dystopian, bro. Yeah, it's like, man, it's crazy. It's a experience.
China has a policy where they only let like the wealthiest people leave the country.
I mean, we have that as well too. Like it's the same thing. It's just,
it happens for us naturally because only the wealthiest can leave. But for them, it's like, no, if you're poor, like you actually can't leave.
yeah.
It's like, well, it's like your social credit is just too low or whatever, so you just can't.
So you want to live with the social credits?
This is my problem with this. People will say like, bro, China, the social credit. What do you think we have here? If I go online and say the wrong things, I'm cancelled. I lose my job. I get. Isn't that not social credit? Like my social status will be lowered if I say certain things.
Not necessarily, because I feel like the whole cancel culture thing is just a big illusion anyway.
It's not so much cancel culture. It's at the institutional level. It's at the administrational level. If I say things that are really bad, like things about certain groups of people of different religions,
there's some things that I love.
Yeah, exactly. If you say those things, you're not getting employed again. You're losing your job. You're getting kicked out of university if you're studying. Your family will disown you, straight up. So tell me that's not a social credit system. It's the same thing. It's just you can't see it. So instead of like knowing what you can and can't say specifically, you're like blindfolded in a minefield and you've got a stick.
Sure.
It's the same thing. It's just they don't tell you about it.
Sure. And that's like a common theme. It's like China's like outrightly tyrannical, whereas in freer countries, you have to like be more deceptive.
It's implicitly tyrannical instead of explicitly, correct. Same thing with, for example, like data collection. When they say, we got to ban TikTok, it's a Chinese spy app, they're collecting our data. What, in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat? They're not collecting our data. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like, and then it's like, if we ban TikTok, well, who's going to get that market share? Oh, Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. So they're just going to get more powerful and collect more data. So who's the winner here? It's always the same people. It's always the same people.
So how would you say, and I'm not trying to like, I can't tell what the future will be, right? But how would you envision this ideal of Christian nationalism as a facet of living in France, what you want to see, if your ambitions were to be fulfilled, how would they be fulfilled in that aspect? And before you answer, let me just restart.
Yeah.
I knew it was looking at. I'm sorry.
Good brown time. Is it in 30 minutes? Let's go, dude. How would I envision that? It's a good question. It's a complicated question. And even the people who are way more advanced than me in this bleeding edge, they still don't have a very formulated and set plan, because the enemy we're going up against here is all the wealth, all of the administrative power, all of the governmental branches of power, all of them. It's all taken over. All the media, all the people. So it's like,
yeah, but that's also another like thing of that illusion that you're up against everyone else, like up against this insurmountable evil, when the good doesn't really necessarily have to make itself shown. If that makes sense.
Very true. No, I agree with that. So what would need to happen would be one of two things: either a massive like awakening, like a massive collective consciousness awakening, which is not totally out of the question, but seeing how much media and propaganda we're up against would require an inordinate amount of effort to get there, which, you know, both ways it's going to require a lot of effort, but this one is like, yeah, basically like, yeah. So either it's going to be a mass awakening type of deal where people they start spreading around these pieces of media and forbidden media and opinions start being shared, people talk about this behind closed doors, which is happening to an extent, but on a much smaller scale. And I don't put a lot of stock in that option. Or it's going to be some very, very long and slow process of legal governmental wins through the government and the administration, where people who are secretly like super red-pilled, they get into the government, they get into positions of power, scientists, doctors, you know, politicians, generals, heads of companies, CEOs, those people, wealthy people, you know, they get into positions of power, they bring that knowledge with them into the upper strata of society, and then they all start colluding and collaborating, and we've replaced the elite. Because one way or the other...
Do you like the Jesuits to what, like the Jesuit, like get them from the inside in?
Yeah, basically how, well, I mean, it works, right? Yeah. That's how they do it every single time as well. They always, and yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was the Jesuits, it was in the Vatican, it was in Europe, like all countries in Europe, all of them. The latest example was Russia in 1917, which was more of a violent revolution, that one, but collective consciousness ideal. But that could only happen because the rest of the European countries were already infiltrated to such an extent. So I put a bit more stock into the infiltration option. That's very risky. It's very, very long, but the result would be assured. Like once you have all your agents in place in the government and they all link up and they all have this base of knowledge, you replace the elite. Because one way or the other, what you need to do is to replace the elite. The ruling class is the one doing this stuff, right? We're not going to talk about who that is specifically because I don't want to get killed, but...
Also, I don't necessarily know, like, you know what I mean? There's like all these names you can say, but like, is that actually, like, you know? If I was the person doing that, I wouldn't want to be like a household name, like some of them are.
True. Yeah, well, I mean, it's all on public record, because, I mean, you wouldn't, because you know it's wrong. Because I assume you have a good conscience and you have a morality. And if you were doing evil stuff, you would want to hide it, right? When you do something that's bad, you're shameful. You want to either hide it or apologize and disown it. But these people don't think that way. These people who run the society, they're very proud of what they do.
How do you know?
They openly say that because they write books about this stuff.
Like what?
Well, like, for example, the studies written on the Frankfurt School of Sociology from the 1920s that come from Weimar, Germany. So the Frankfurt School of Sociology, or School of Thought, was a school of sociology that was established in Frankfurt in the 1920s. And they were the ones who sort of started writing about this existentialist liberalism and about how we need to dismantle the family unit, we need to dismantle family relationships, the father, the mother, we need to dismantle gender roles in society, because those things are what leads to like fascism. And because they lived in Germany around the time that fascism was really starting to like pick up. And so they were like analyzing it and saying, what's causing this? Oh, it's because there's men and women, and because they want to protect those ideals, so they become fascists. And so they said we have to dismantle those ideas so that there's actually nothing worth fighting for. If you're a man and you don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't have a community, you don't have a country, you don't have a sense of community, what will you fight for? Nothing. And so that's what they said. They said we have to take all those elements away from man, and that way he has nothing to fight for, and fascism can never exist again. So that's like an extremely subversive, and obviously it's a country destroying ideology that comes from these types of people. And these people are all one group of people, and
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe I can't really say for sure. But I would say that I'd say that at that level, there's like they understand more of the metaphysical rules of this realm, and that maybe can consist of like some sort of karmic, like something.
100%, yeah. It's 100% karmic. It's 100%.
Yeah, so I would say they'd be doing things to like, or at least try to be doing things to circumvent that karmic retribution or whatever it is. Like, have you seen that meme of like
100%, dude. Yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah. So have you seen the meme of like Bill Gates, like Bill Gates' clone getting tortured or some shit?
Yeah, it's getting his freaking liver pulled out. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, something to that nature. No, it's not necessarily that they just are doing it proudly and they have no morality, but I feel like they know, like to that extent, the rules of the game that we're playing in this fucking simulation video game thing, and they're playing it just as well as the other side is trying to play it. So that's what I reckon. But in terms of
that's not a bad take. That's not incorrect.
Yeah,
it's true to that.
Yeah,
it's true.
So in terms of like my viewpoint, one, I don't know who it is. They could not even like know each other. It would just be like, and like, all right, what about this? The thought I just had, is in order for someone to get to the top of some sort of hierarchy, especially like the biggest hierarchy, which is the financial hierarchy, you have to be very, very cutthroat. And the more cutthroat, the more absent your morality is, the more success that you're likely to have. How are you going to change? Like, how would you change that fact so that instead of selecting for almost like biologically, how would you kind of go about that? So like, how would you change around?
Well, I think that's only a product of like the hyper competitiveness that's enabled by total capitalism. I think that when you totally take the human element out of any community, you enable this sort of psychopathic, hyper aggressive and hyper competitive, hyper cutthroat. Exactly. Because that's only allowed by the fact that we have a total free market. Nothing is off limits, right? You can sell anything. And so if that happens and there's no rules in the game and the only rule is win and make more money than the other person, you're obviously going to drop your moral code. There's no honor there. There's no sense of honorable competition. There's no sense of rivalry. There's no sense of fraternity, which is what rivalry is supposed to be, ideally, right? You don't climb to the top of the mountain so that you can push people down the slope. You climb to the top so you can grab their hand and hoist them up with you. Because if you're alone at the top, well, it's mighty lonely, and what did you get up there for? What was the point? Like, are you really any better because you have like $10 billion in your bank account? Because you can enjoy the carnal pleasures of the flesh or whatever. So it's like...
And then your psychopathy starts to focus on...
Exactly, yeah. Well, on yourself.
Conserving the control.
You just consume yourself. You destroy yourself. Your mind literally gets consumed by this venal darkness. So what I would say is that that kind of psychopathy is only enabled by like... It's only enabled by this hyper-capitalism, by this hyper-competitive, total capitalism. I'm not like one of these free market people who are like, bro, I just love capitalism so much. It's like, that's all I care about. It's like, no, dude. It's like people before profits. Like, yeah, capitalism is the best way for productivity to lift countries out of its poverty. 100%. Like, that's no discussion from me. That's 100% true. But there's nuance in that opinion. It's not either we're commies and everybody eats like mud cakes, or we're capitalists and everybody eats like, you know, rare polar bear liver and like the planet. I don't even believe in like the ecology nonsense. Like, some of it is true, but it's not one or the other. There's nuance in that. And I'm more of the side that, well, community first. If everybody can eat, everybody's like, you know, got a roof over their head, that's it. Like, we don't need to keep going and going and going. You don't need like heated toilet seats. You don't need like a gold fucking fork. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah, you don't need like, whatever, dude. But it's like, you don't need that stuff. Like, you need a community. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have like, okay, material needs, and then you have spiritual needs. You have social needs. You have communitarian needs, right? You need to have a family, have children, have friends. Everybody has a support network.
So how do you believe like the Christian, whatever, nationalism, how does it focus on growth like a capitalism model would, and mitigate like the moral? Because I kind of know, but I don't know exactly know. I know you like be very good at.
Well, it's an interesting question, because obviously this is what I said before, and I said one of my 4 aims was to destroy central banking, right? Which is very obtuse, but it's very relevant. central banking is a system of usury that was created to hoard as much wealth in one place as possible, to centralize wealth, because wealth is power. And so if you have a system of growth that is centralized, then obviously that system will be pushed to its maximum extent to be able to, focus on that growth as much as possible, because as you said, growth is the number one imperative of a capitalist system. So for me, I think it would be very difficult, and I'm sorry to disappoint, but I don't have like a perfect answer for this.
I don't expect you. Yeah, it's just like posing the question so that we can start thinking about stuff.
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. I guess the economy under a Christian, and I like the term Christian nationalism, but it's not very exact. I think there is some constructive interference in those two terms, where the Christian aspect sort of strengthens the nationalist aspect, and vice versa. But I would be more willing to say like patriotic Christian futurism would be more akin to.
Nice, I like that. That's a way better. Holy shit.
Christian futurism, because this is what I thought, and I'll try to wrap this in with an answer to that question. We can never go back to how society was prior to the Industrial Revolution, because a lot of these social changes, they only come from technological change, right?
Okay, so you're talking about like women's rights or...
Yeah, basically. Like that's best to the extent of it. But I talked about this in one of my French videos when I was explaining my political philosophy to French viewers.
Right, fucking...
I can't speak French.
Yeah, I should start including like subtitles or something. I should do it. Yeah,
different channel and do the French shit on it.
Maybe
The base, like
maybe it does. Yeah, but so to wrap that answer into there, I would say we're never going to go back to how we were prior to the Industrial Revolution, because now we have technology, and technology enables social change. And you will never take the technology away from people. You will never take away iPhones. You will never take away electric cars. You'll never take away, you'll never take away laptops. All this technology that makes us interconnected and enables us to spread ideas like this, you'll never take that away. And so that social change has to be, it can't be flattened back down. It can only be corrected back on course, right? So what I think is, and this includes the economic growth model, would be you turn the social morality around to face Christ once more. You actually invest more into technology so that you can guide the growth of technology towards what is Christian, towards what is godly, towards what helps people attain a higher level of consciousness, of spirituality. And you don't invest in technology that makes people, debases people, that makes people worse. So like all this sex toy technology, like sex bots, sex dolls, where the fuck's coming out. Definitely not that, but stuff that makes people more higher consciousness. And that would
generative as opposed to
destructive, exactly on the money. And that would wrap up a still capitalist system within and obviously you would have to introduce stuff like protectionism and, protect your local industries, make sure that you reindustrialize, because the entire Western world is 100%, almost 100% deindustrialized. Australia makes nothing, France makes nothing, the US makes nothing, China, Russia, Brazil make everything. It's like, we have all our clothes made in like Bangladesh or whatever. It's like, we could make clothes here, we could give people jobs here. Why aren't we doing that? Protectionism. So all of that, you would try to take that globalized world economy, you would siphon it down to like the local industry, and you would gear that national economy towards a higher spiritual good, while strengthening the borders, while encouraging family creation, while guiding the entire population back to Christ. That would be the ultimate play.
Yeah, and why is it necessary to strengthen the border?
Well, because you want to conserve like some kind of racial homogeneity. Like that's important too. Yeah. You want to conserve some kind of, I don't want to be offensive here, but I don't want to.
No, you're fuck, bro. There's nothing you can say that doesn't offend me. So
that's good to know. But these ideas can be very offensive. But you want to conserve some kind of racial homogeneity, because I made a video on this, Christian race war or whatever, where people ask, oh, well, would you rather have a Christian country or a racially homogeneous country? And it's like, well, those things actually play together. Like racial homogeneity is actually a very important part of Christianity, because we understand as Christians that.
Yeah, I think I did watch that. Yeah, and you said like
tribal.
At a fundamental level, it's just like very in your face that you're not who I am.
Exactly.
Especially with skin color.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's right, but I'm just saying that's.
You're 100% right. It's tribalism is a very fundamental human instinct, and the only way we have of minimizing that, because we understand that we cannot eliminate it, because we're not liberal, we're not reductionists, we're not Democrats or whatever other gay.
But don't you think there's some value in in these institutions? Like, don't you think that you can integrate them? No, not multi. Like, in terms of like the liberal, democratic, whatever it may be, like left and right. Obviously, you're very far right. We would say that.
Alarmingly so.
But like, it's almost to the point where like you can surely there's still good things like, I don't know, the tenets of the left that you can integrate into something that's like bigger than a political spectrum. That's like ascended that fucking left and right binary. Like
that, I agree with. The first part, I'm not so on board with, but the second part, I'm much more in accordance with. So I'm not. I say I'm like very far right or whatever, but in reality, there's no the point where I'm at. The concept of right and left no longer exists. It doesn't exist. The very fundamental distinction that we have to draw, because nowadays the right is actually still left. They're just very left of center, and then left is like all the way out and fucking whoop whoop. So it's like the very fundamental distinction is that the right is supposed to believe that the natural order exists. There are inequalities in nature, right? Some people are born intelligent, some are born stupid. And so those fundamental inequalities dictate a hierarchy in society, right? So that inequality means that striving for social equality is not possible. And the left believes the opposite. They believe that we're all born equal. Genetics be damned, faculties be damned. We're all equal because I said so. And then we have to work from there. That's basically what the left is saying. Like, that's fundamentally their liberal ideology.
Yeah. Because like when you say, and sorry to interrupt, but when you say things like that are leaning one way or whichever, or like saying that all this is bad, there's like stuff on the left. Yeah. It's like to them, like to me, because I don't really give a fuck about politics. Like I don't really know all the intricacies of the beliefs of each side. I obviously know the right, and like I know like the general gist of things. That's a lot of people. It's like they don't understand that.
For sure, yeah.
The actual tenets of the things that they so-called believe in, you know what I'm saying? And it's not to like discount anyone's like emotional or like just intelligence in general, but that's why I asked the question, because I don't actually necessarily understand. Like, surely there's something good we can take off. Surely there's something, and like.
I mean, if I really had to try and be good faith,
because that's what Peterson says, like, or like one of his professors or whatever. I have this this memory of him talking about something like when you're trying to listen to someone you disagree with, tell them what you agree, like tell them why you think what you're saying, like so we're not trying to alienate people when we have conversations, or at least I'm not trying to. Yeah. Trying to like encapsulate, because if it's genuinely a common greater good, people will come. It's at what point they come. It's like very like big and obviously generationally beneficial. At the start, there's going to be the bleeding edges, the early adopters, obviously. But then when we get there, if something is generally truthful, good, benevolent, generative, people will follow.
I don't know if that's true though.
Give or take.
Because this is going from the assumption that people know what's good for them, or even want what's good for them. Let's go off that assumption. Again, if we go off like, if we make a meaningful inference of the world that we can observe around us, again, 2/3 of people are obese or overweight. Yeah. We've known that that's harmful for decades, but they don't care. Smoking, drugs, casual sex, although now they're trying to debate that it's actually good for you, or even being homosexual, being transsexual. So that's going from the assumption that people either A, know what's good for them, or B, want what's good for them. Right? Because your wants and your needs are actually two separate things.
Fair enough. I'd probably draw a line between like the gay and the transsexual thing. I don't actually know. Like I'm not either of those parties. But like according to them, they have like a genetic whatever. Like it's them. Yeah. So I'm not here to argue with who you are to you.
Yeah, but that's clearly false, right? Like we don't know what they think. Well, because if you have a gene that stops you from reproducing, that gene is obviously going to die out.
An environmental thing.
Well, then it's not who they are. It's how they grew up, which is true, by the way.
Even it's like a product of, it may be like a product of a broken system, but I'm not necessarily like, I'm not here to say, because that's just all it's going to do is like alienate a certain group. Like in my big fucking happy, like ambitious future for the world, everyone's working towards a common good. And what you're saying is like, basically we need a ruling class, and that ruling class should be God, which I agree with. Yeah.
Well, it should be God, and
or God-fearing people.
Yes, and there should be a representative of God on earth, which is the king. Yeah. Okay, because the king is appointed by God.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And how do you even do that though? That's crazy in and of itself.
For like 1,000 years, so I'm sure we can figure it out. Nah, Napoleon, no, total. I totally disown that guy.
Yeah.
Louis XIV, no, the Sun King.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Or Louis XI. The guy who did the First Crusade. Sorry, Louis IX, St. Louis. No, Louis XI also super bad.
But how do you prevent people that like are so good at ascending the ranks of, say, like a monarchy or a government or a...
Well, there's no ranks in a monarchy. There's the king and there's everyone else. Just either you're king or not.
Yeah, but you still have, like, the chessboard still has powerful...
You have aristocracy, but there's no...
So you're going to keep, like, the leader in one family?
Sure. No, why not?
It's just like a recipe for, like, I don't know, disaster.
Why though?
Because let's say the beliefs of the family changes over time.
But why would they?
I'm not sure. That's just what happens because humans only have X amount of years of memory. And then once the memories of your third great grandfather are gone, it's like, I don't know who that guy was.
Well, I mean, you're saying that, but it's within a modern context. You say you could change your ideas, but if there's only one idea, you're not going to change ideas. Like, you can change ideas now because you're offered this veritable smorgasbord of, like, worldviews, right? You have, like, this infinite palette of worldviews that you can choose and pick from. And so it's like at one point in your life, you might go, well, that one makes more sense right now. Then you grow up and you're like, this makes more sense. But if you've only got one, well, you don't have a choice, right? If you're raised from birth to be a monarch and your only duty is to your people and the only way to serve that duty is through this straight and narrow, you're not going to deviate from that.
Yeah. So
You know what I mean?
like a pathway of
Yeah.
insane.
Responsibility and duty, yeah. It's like an incredible burden. Being a king is not like this megalomaniac, like power trip. Like,
I mean, I feel like that's what the like every politician in some way is like
Right.
on that scale.
but that's because we live in a democratic system, where everything is inverted, right? Have you read Tolkien? Lord of the Rings, stuff like that.
No. Haven't even watched the movie. I should though. I would definitely watch it. Yes, I will. Getting around to it.
What he says in his books, or I think he said, maybe there's a quote, he said, evil can only destroy and corrupt. It cannot create. Evil is a force that is only destructive. Good, you can identify good by its fruits. You'll know the tree by its fruits. It generates, it creates, right? And that's like, by the way, why like heterosexual sex within marriage is good, because it creates. But any other form of sex is bad because it does not create. It takes away from you. So you will know good, the tree by its fruits. You know that good is good because it generates, it creates. And you know that bad is bad because it does not create. And so when you see a king, what does a king do? He generates value for his nation. He's siring children. He's siring an heir. He's generating value for his country. What does a politician do? He gets paid. That's it. What do? They don't actually enact anything because you need like the approval of like 300 people in the Senate or in the House of Representatives or in the lower chamber of whatever. So they don't do anything. All they do is get paid. They put out flyers saying, vote for me. And then nothing changes ever. It only slips down further and further to the slippery slope. It's like we're on a slide and we want to say, all right, stop. I'm going to stop sliding in the middle. It's like, it's not possible, bro. Once you get on the slide, you're going all the way down. You're not just going to stop static in the middle like that and stop the flow of time in physics. It's like, no, dude. You got on the ride now. You're going all the way to the end. This ride never ends. And when it does, that's because there's no more humans left. So, yeah. So it's like, yeah, politicians in a democratic system, their only interest is staying in power. Whereas for a king, that's guaranteed. So why would he be like this power-hungry maniac? He's been the king since his birth.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. It's just like when I think about any leadership position, the power is like absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So it's like...
That's what George Washington said, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was like a libertarian. He was kind of cringe, so...
He was libertarian? No,
yeah, he was, yeah. George Washington, I mean, he was pretty good. He was right. Americans like him, but, Americans, they've always been liberals. They've always been libertarians, so,
Which is good. There's value in it because it shows you what you can create if you actually hold the ideals.
I think that liberalism and libertarianism can only exist within the modern context. If you go back to any other tribe or period of time, everybody lived in a community. It's like you can only believe that liberalism is good if you have like this solipsistic mindset where you think, well, I'm an individual. Like, for example, I'll give you this example. Do you think there are any actions that you can do which don't harm anyone else, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else? Do you think there's any such action that is classified like that?
Okay, let me think. To what end is like, to what am I trying to achieve with this action?
Just think about like an epistemological action, class of action. Is there any such action, any action that you can take that would have absolutely zero effect on anyone else but you? Is there any action to be classified as such? Does that exist?
Eating, no. Drinking, water.
It doesn't exist.
Really? Yeah. There's like nothing you can do that has zero net impact. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So this is
Thinking. Not even that.
not even that, because then your thoughts shape your worldview and shape your actions later on, right? And then people will say like, oh, well, like if you do something that only concerns yourself, like let's say you take drugs or you harm yourself or something. Well, it's like, you got to understand that the person that you are in like 2 weeks is not the person you are now. Like even like biologically, your cells will be different. Your brain cells will be different. So that person is literally not you right now. So you're harming that person if you harm yourself now. Because this is like the libertarian argument against with like drugs. People say like, oh, people should be allowed to do drugs, not hurting anyone else. Well, you're hurting your future self. You're impacting that person in a negative way. Yeah. But so the point is, the libertarian argument only stands on two legs when you pretend that some actions have zero impact on other people, which is never the case. We live in a community. We live in a society. We live in a society, and it's like everything that I do has an impact on everyone else, even if it's so tiny, so marginal that it's like barely noticeable. Every single thing that I do, that every product I consume, every piece of product that I put out, every service I provide, every time I do something, I speak to someone, I think, I exist, that is impacting somebody else. And so there is no such action that can be classified as not having an impact on someone else. So the whole concept of libertarianism is totally non-existent. It's built on this dune of sand. It doesn't exist. So it's like you can't live, and you cannot build a libertarian society. It does not exist. The only way you can have a libertarian society is to build a society with conservative Christian values, and then to corrupt it and tell everybody, well, you're free to do what you want now. Yeah. And that's what we've done. Yeah. We had the liberal revolution, in France it was in 1789, in the US it was the revolution in 1776. And ever since then, the rest of the world has slowly followed in our trail and has become liberal. And now you can see the impact that it's had on the world. The liberal experiment has totally failed. It's totally failed. The only thing that's kept us afloat is the Industrial Revolution, which we're still feeling the effects of now. Yeah. Without it, the West would have collapsed like 200 years ago, because it's not beneficial for anybody. All it does is take and take and take. It does not generate anything. So for me, liberalism is this. It's you say, is there anything of value to take from it? And I'm like, well, how can there be anything of value to take from it when it's rotten to the core? Even the foundations on it are rotten. So nothing that you build on there can have any value, because the foundational basis of it is just totally screwed up. So it's like, I try to be good faith, and I understand the argument that it's like yin and yang. There's a bit of white in every black, and there's a bit of...
It's not even that. It's just like, I know people of like, just the normal human now is just very hypersensitive to their emotions, and if you say something, it automatically hits them in their little trauma spot, and then they react emotionally, which is dumb. Of course. So like, I want just like anything pertaining to this discussion of the future and community or whatever in our little, I don't know, what do you call it, like worlds, to be generative, not destructive. Because like, if you say destructive things, sometimes the truth has to destroy. I concede that. But if you say destructive things, then that's why these, like, you were talking about like the cancel culture idea. That's why that's there, because people can't handle it. Of course not. Yeah.
Well, it's because if you are of the doctrine, if you're an equalitarian, if you're a libertarian or a liberal, your worldview is predicated upon the fact that like you deny reality on a daily basis. Like that's literally the basis of your worldview, is that you deny reality all the time. If you're an equalitarian and you say we should all be equal, it's like, well, go outside. Some people are tall, some people are short, some people are ugly, some people are good looking, some people are intelligent, some people are not, some people are strong, some people are weak. Some people have a will, an indomitable will inside of them, and some people cannot even get out of bed in the morning. So it's like, how can you then say that we're all equal? You're denying reality so much. It's like that's all you do. And so these people, obviously, when you say anything true to them, it pierces right through it, because it's true. It just smashes right through all of those walls, and it hits them right here.
They say like, if this is false, then my entire thing is false, so therefore I can't concede. Yeah, okay.
And that realization is one of the most painful things that can happen to an individual. Because fundamentally, you have built your character because you believe it is the ultimate way to survive, right? Yeah. When you make decisions, unless you're a really debased individual who only lives for like the pleasures of the senses, if you make a decision to incorporate some idea into your character, it's because you believe it's the optimal way to do it. So yeah, if you believe that, if you're like that, then yeah, it's because you believe that it's the best way to live. It's the most optimal character to survive, to adopt that to survive. Sorry. And so then, if someone comes to you and says, well, this is all wrong and everything you've built is 100% false, it's like, I have to let that part of me die. I have to let all of that part of me just go and die. So that's insanely painful. It's like a rebirth, right? It's like but what happens to the phoenix before it's reborn? It goes up in flames. Don't imagine that feels very good, right? You've been immolated alive. So that's why people will deny that, because they get like this little dot of truth and they realize everything is false. And they're like, no, I can't go through that pain. Like, it's too much suffering. It's too much mental anguish. That's why they'll deny reality, because once you're in the hole, man, it only gets deeper.
Once you're in Plato's cave.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. The shadows only get more distinct.
Cool. All right, this is a good segue then, because my next one is, actually I'll do that one next. But the one I was thinking of is, what are your thoughts on AI and potentially being the last, maybe not generation, but childhood without like this constant technology interfering?
That's definitely the case. We're definitely the last generation that grew up, going to the park and playing football instead of, being on our phones. I mean, I still remember, how old are you? 21. I'm a year older than you. I'm 22. Yeah. So I remember like when I was like 12, that's when I got my first phone. But before then, I was like 8 years old. I'd like go play in a playground. I'd go to the park and I'd play with other kids. Now it's like 8-year-olds have like 10 iPads.
Yeah. So it's like, and even then when you got the phone, it's like this little fucking...
Yeah, it was some shitty like block, brick or whatever. You have like Angry Birds on or whatever. It's playing at like 2 FPS. It's like, okay, cool. That's not what we have now, where kids are on their phone like TikTok and it's like hyper 1440p freaking, glittering colors, it's like, bro, holy shit. That's like if you were eating nothing but like candy all day. Exactly. So dude, your brain is totally spun. Yeah.
Like the screen, it triggers that.
Dude, yeah. A dopamine response, dude. It's like,
it's like sugar. Like when you look at your screen,
yeah,
it's like you're consuming a candy bar to your... Anyway.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like if they were feeding on sugar all day, they'd be like 600 pounds or whatever. Yeah. It's like their brain is in that shape. Like their brain is literally, take that equivalent, that's their brain. It's like,
but it's like figuratively true, but also like physically, literally true.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I have like a younger brother who's like 6, so I get to see like I get to see like the difference in. We're basically the same human almost.
Yeah,
it's just like 15 years apart,
And he's growing up in a totally different world to you, totally different way. Yeah.
So what do you think the repercussions of that would be?
Well, I think
it's inevitable.
Yes, it is. For the majority of people who don't realize how bad it is, yeah, it is. I mean, my kids, I'm gonna have like 12 kids. My children are not. I am. Yeah. I'm gonna have like 12 kids, like minimum. So my kids are not gonna have a phone or internet access like while they're in my house, like straight up. So if they want that, they can move out. And even then I'll be like, well, don't do that. But like for normal people who don't know how bad that is, they don't get it. Yeah, it's inevitable for them because they don't understand. And I mean, AI is like sort of related to this. I mean, the effect that it's going to have on generations is it's totally cutting out, it's destroying their attention span. It's giving them all ADHD or like autism, whatever. Like it's all bullshit. None of it is real. And then what it's doing is it's also forcing them to be on meds, right? If you have ADHD because you've been on your phone on TikTok since you were 2 years old, and now you're in primary school and you have to sit down and like listen to a teacher speak for like even 40 minutes, which is physically impossible because your brain is so starved of dopamine and the reuptake is so freaking slow or fast, sorry, the other way around. Short reuptake, so it's very fast. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're going to need to be put on like hardcore amphetamines so that you have the focus to sit down for 40 minutes and listen to someone speak. That's the effect that it's going to have. And then we're finding out now that like amphetamines in the long term, they radically change your brain structure. Like they reorient your brain. The good news in all of this is that the brain is an incredibly plastic organ, and that after cutting out these negative influences, you can return to a somewhat normal brain function. But if you've been on amphetamines since you were like 8, and you've been on like, the visual candy, the dopamine candy since you were 2, you're never going to be where you could have been if you weren't there. So what we're going to have is a generation of people who are brain damaged. They literally have brain damage. Yeah. They literally have brain damage and they can't focus and they can't do anything, and they're impulsive. They live for the short term. They take massive risks, not healthy massive risks. Like, you can take massive risks in life if you calculate it and if it leads to something that's actually worth the risk. If you're like in your car and you're on the freeway and you say, I'm just gonna like go 240k an hour, what's the risk and what's the reward? But if you're impulsive as shit and you have like no capacity to project yourself into the future for the consequence of your actions, you're just gonna do it because you don't care. You don't have the mental capacity to do that. So it's gonna result in a generation of people who are like that, totally brain damaged, super impulsive. And guess what? Those traits all lead to what? The perfect consumer. You see a product, I'm buying that. I don't care about it anymore. Attention span's done. Next product. Everything that's been done to us is to lead us to be the perfect consumer. Everything. The obesity. Look at it, someone who's obese. They eat and consume as much as 4 people, and then they die when they're like 40. Is that not like the perfect consumer? They consume 4 times as much, and then they just die. You don't have to take care of them. They just die. Isn't that perfect, right? It's everything that's been implemented, and this is why I can't like sit back and say, no, it's just coincidence, or no, that's just the natural evolution of society, because it all converges towards one thing. It all converges towards one aim. And it's like we're debasing the human, and we're degrading him to the point that he's like cattle. It's like you're a cattle. You live in the pod, you eat the bugs, whatever. That's like a meme, but it's like, yeah, actually though, they want us to just be consumers, perfect consumers. Because why? Because we live in the capitalist system, and because wealth is power, and because information is power.
Yeah.
That's what I think the effect is. The effect is not so important as it is that it contributes to that ultimate goal. But yeah, 100%. The generations that are coming, they're going to be more and more consumption oriented instead of generation oriented, right? Yeah. Because consumption is destruction. Yeah. You consume a piece of fruit and it no longer exists, right? Or it exists within you. So it's like this integration of like the world as you. So it's like, instead of being, creatively generation focused, we're creating things, we're making things, we're consuming. All we are is consumers. We just eat. And then you see that that's happening to people as well. This social contract we have is based on the consumption of the other, right?
Go crazy.
It's true, right? It's like that's.
So you're referring to like casual sex with this one?
Well, that is part of it. That's the physical manifestation of it. That's a very good catch to say that. It is true. But just this sort of like casual socialite behavior. It's like I meet someone, I immediately want to know all about them, or I immediately ask them a million questions. It's like I'm viewing you as nothing more than like a thing to explore. And it's like there is a healthy part of that in normal social relations, of course. But if that's all there is, and then you forget about that person, you move on to the next, it's like, and obviously the root of that is, it's casual sex. It's like you're consuming someone casually, and then you're fucking them off. It's like, well, that's the root of it. That's the physical manifestation of it. But there is a metaphysical, there is a spiritual, mental dimension to this that actually hovers over every other social domain, social interaction that we have. All of it is being geared towards that. Yeah.
It's not even exploring someone else. It's just like,
you just consume them, like straight up. There's no better word for it. It's like, what do you do? Who are you? What are you about? Okay, cool. Next person. It's shit. All right. Guess I'm not a real person. It's like I'm just a fact sheet for you to read, and then you can go on to this.
Okay, here's the interesting one. How do you navigate like the dating scene then?
I mean, I'm Christian and I'm socially conservative, so I would say be abstinent until marriage. Mm-hmm. Don't.
I mean, you don't
have sex. Yeah, I don't have sex.
No, as in like a like you don't want to be with someone.
I do. I do want to get married and have children.
So like, what's the plan with that? Because like, especially now, like I don't hold as strong beliefs as you, and it's still like kind of fucked. So like, you know, to find someone that's
well, the secret advantage is that, you know, I'm from a small village in France, so, you know, I could just go right there and pick up any hands there.
Wing dick over there
for the Sundays, but yeah. So I got an advantage. But bro, if you're any one of my friends, like, or you yourself, people who live here, you don't have that secret edge, jail, bro. Like seriously, good luck. Because it's like, dude, I'm looking around at the women in our generation, not to diss them. I love women, I'm a feminist, but they're all on birth control. They're all on liberal property.
Most.
Like all of them, bro. A lot of them are obese or overweight. They have like a million partners. It's like, dude, you look at these women, it's like, do I want this person to be the mother of my children? Do I want to see my child in her arms? And I'm like, dude, fuck no. No. If that's the only option I have, I think I just won't have kids, which would make me extremely sad.
Yeah, it's a fucking shame, bro, because you're a generative human being. So it's like,
yeah, but it's like these people, all they do is consume. They consume themselves and others. So it's like, I don't want to, put my being into a black hole, because then I'm destroying myself. And then that's like, I can no longer create, because I'm with a person who is, absorbing so much of my life essence. I can no longer, because that's what happens, right? Like they get super clingy, and they always want to be like, oh my God, like you need to be like, my dad or whatever. It's like, you need to be in my life. And it's like, yeah, sure, the man should take charge, but like, who are you? Like, you're just a part of me. Yeah, exactly. You have to be your own person still. And it's like, so the dating scene now, my biggest advice is like, dude, just be abstinent. I mean, I'm like an incel, like straight up. So it's like, I am. So it's like, be abstinent. Like, stop focusing on women. Stop focusing on women. It's like, there are greater things to accomplish. We have to focus our mental energy and our mental effort on things. Because it's like, even if I could get a wife and kids right now, I wouldn't want to, because it's like, I have no guarantee that this place is still going to exist as is in like 15, 20 years. Like the whole world.
You can say that at any time. Like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Because like the future's the future, bro. So like that's what that like finding a significant other is. It's like taking a risk with someone.
Yeah, of course.
Waking up in the morning is a risk.
I agree. For the vast majority of people,